Now, the open sale of drugs has affected the credibility, or at least is a burden kind of for the healthcare system in Nigeria. The immediate impact is a potential danger it poses on the consumer. Now, these effects can result to illness, disability, and even death. Guess what? Anyone, I just mean anyone, can be a victim. We'll say these people marketing these medicines in the marketplace, just as the name implies, open sales generally, bus stops, pedestrian bridges, and anywhere you can imagine. But the status quo told is about to change, going by the signals coming from the federal government. From December 31st, the Federal Ministry of Health and the National Agency for Food and Drug Administration and Control will ensure that the ban on the open sale of drugs is enforced. Now, the ban on open sale of drugs is part of the National Drug Distribution Guidelines issued by the federal government in 2012. Well, the big question is, if that had been in place, as these guidelines have been in place, why is the enforcement or the ban of the sale of open drugs just to be enforced starting from next month? Is this method of drug trade peculiar to Nigeria alone? Can it really be contained? Well, these are some of the questions as we've turned our searchlight on this aspect, a burden for us on Nigeria Today. My name is Blessing Abu. Welcome to the program. Now, with me in the studio to provide answers to some of those questions I raised, as well as those on your mind, I'd like to welcome pharmacist Ibrahim Babasheu Hamad. He's a Director of Planning, Research and Statistics with the Pharmacist Council of Nigeria. Welcome to the program.
Thank you, and good evening.
Also joining him on set is Engineer Aisha Aliyu Tafida. She's the Deputy National Coordinator, Community Intervention Network on Drugs. Welcome to the program.
Thank you, and good evening, Nigerians.
Yes, let's kick off with what's... Yes, I just try to itemize some of the places we get to see drugs in display, or on display as the case may be. Why is it taking this long to actually look into this? These are things where everyone has been bothered about and we've been talking about it. Pharmacist Hamad. Thank you very much,
Blessing. First of all, before we go into why is this taking us this long, let us establish the fact that this problem is peculiar to our country.
So it's just a Nigerian thing?
It's more of a Nigerian thing. And of course, it's also, it came on board because at a particular point in time, government, particularly under the military, sort of deregulated, unfortunately, the regulation of the patent and proprietary medicine vendors. It is on records way back to 1936, 1958, all the Poisons and Pharmacy Acts makes it clear who has authority to handle drugs, either for purposes of manufacture, importation, distribution, wholesale, retail, including, of course, compounding of drugs. We had a situation where the law that created the PPMV, which of course brought on board...
What's PPMV now?
Patent and proprietary medicine vendors.
Okay.
People that were brought on board to sort of fill the gap as a result of few number of professionals, that's pharmacists, and of course health facilities, to be allowed to handle some category of medicines, and of course to be regulated by the federal government regulatory agency, which used to be the Pharmacy Board of Nigeria, before it became Pharmacist Board and Pharmacist Council. Okay. Now, that aspect of regulation was unfortunately taken off at a particular point in time under the military and taken down to the lowest level, where it was given to the local governments to do.
So is this what is causing this that abuse of distribution?
Well, it contributed largely to where we find ourselves today. Unfortunately, that has been resolved way back to 2003. where the federal government saw that there was a failure of the system or in the system by that directive or position of government, and now directed and reverted the issuance and regulation of this category of people back to the Pharmacists Council of Nigeria. But of course, a lot of damage had been caused. We had in the process a situation where a lot of markets sprang up. And the big ones, or the big names, when you talk of open drug market, you are talking of the Onitsha head market, you are talking of Idumota, you are talking of the Ariara, you are talking of Sabongari market in Kano. As bad as they are, I can also state categorically that since the reversion, government has taken very serious action and committed actions and steps to resolving this problem. Precisely in 2003, under the leadership of President Obasanjo, there was established, or put in place, Presidential Committee on Pharmaceutical Sector Reform. We were part of the committee. We look at the various issues that bedevil the pharmaceutical landscape of the country. Principal among them, of course, you must understand, is availability and access. Because it's one thing to have it available, it's another thing to have it accessible. Because it must be close to the people. To quality, highly effective and affordable medicines. And we realize that one of the key factors that are like obstacle to having this, of course, is the chaotic drug distribution system that we have in the country.
Which is our focus mainly. I appreciate the nitty-gritty to the history of how we got here. Now, this is a source of concern for everyone, for the pharmacists, for a network like ours, and also the general public. We're just concerned that we should get good medicine, quality medicine, as wherever it's going to be given, and whatever the guideline. Let's find out, how do you come in here, and what are your own observations, having to coordinate what you are from your own network?
We focus on mostly on prevention and care, sensitizations, and then treatment. So when it comes to the street selling drugs, that's something very, very new to us, because I'm even surprised the way he's explaining the pharmacist. I'm happy that he's here.
You're in another school today.
Yes, that is coming out, to give a history on how, but even, just like last week, I came out from my office and I saw my gate man buying tramadol from someone selling on his head. So I asked him, why are you buying this? He said, because it's expensive in the pharmacy. So I said, how are you sure that this drug is not expired? It's okay for you, because it may harm you. You have to go to, he's just a street boy selling. He's not a pharmacist, he's not a doctor, he's nobody.
Just a vendor.
So these are the issues we face all the time, and I can't imagine why. I think I'm in support of banning the street sellers, because it's something that is not even helpful for Nigerians to be buying things from the street, because they don't have license to sell these things, and you don't even know what you are selling, expired Panadol or what. So these are places like, for example, the ban of codeine. There is no regulatory system that is checking on the pharmacist put in place. I don't know if one exists and we are not aware of it. Well,
the pharmacist is here. Let him tell us more. We know this guidelines has been stipulated already, that you're already starting to talk to us about. Let's figure out how it works. What is it? How is drug distributed, or what is the module for distribution of drug? How does it get to the end user? Or how should it get to the end user?
Thank you very much. Having laid the foundation to the problem, what I think is next most important for us to appreciate what is being done and what government is doing is to know, also to understand where we are today and what is the hope that lies ahead of us. I spoke about the Presidential Committee on Pharmaceutical Sector Reform, which recommended the need to streamline our drug distribution system. And that led to, again, after the submission of the report, adoption by the National Council on Health, the setting up of a committee, because there were various issues identified, including the fact that we are not meeting up with our local drug manufacturer. On this National Drug Distribution Guideline, a committee was now put in place way back in 2009. They submitted a report with a recommendation that it should come into full effect by 2012, and that is where I now answer your question. When you say it should come into full effect, what does it mean? It means that a drug, either from the manufacturer or importer into this country, should move straight to distributor, and from the distributor to the wholesalers, and from the wholesaler down to the retailers. And from that particular point, we are looking at the community pharmacies and the patent and proprietary medicine vendors who are supposed to handle only over-the-counter medicines. You have the hospitals who are also supposed to be fed from the wholesale outlet. However, as good as that document was, one thing was missing, because the target was, let's go this way. Of course, we closed our eyes to the fact that the only thing we could do to the open drug market is to shut them down. That is a good process. But I hope you remember what happened when Professor Akweli made effort to do it. Now, there were resistance. The deadline was shifted to 2014. There was still resistance. The resistance was, how do we appropriately regulate or capture the people in the open drug market? Because the structure I have given you now never captures them. The question was, they should close. What becomes, go to where? And go to where? What becomes of the economy? I mean, what will be the impact of this on the economy of the country? And of course, including their investment. Because the fact that large number of them are doing what is not right, a few of them are also doing what is right, even though in a wrong place. Exactly.
What I was going to ask, is this that completely every one of them are in the wrongdoing?
Thank you very much. So, 2015, we called every stakeholder to a meeting. We are going to move on with this particular guideline, and there's no turning back. The best we can do is, let's look at the issues around them and provide solutions. And we came to a conclusion. We did a trip outside this country to look at certain models that operate in other countries. And we came to a conclusion that we can move these people out to a regulated center, which will be called coordinated wholesale centers.
What's your response to this? What's your response for
indeed, to tell you that it was an holistic approach. The trip we made, they were part of the trip. What we saw, they also saw the benefit of it, as against what they are doing here. We came back and we further, because this is a process that involved the Federal Minister of Health, in fact championed by the Honorable Minister of Health, the Pharmacists Council of Nigeria, and National Agency for Food and Drug Administration, including these stakeholders, as well as the manufacturers and importers, because everybody have one role or the other to play in the process.
All right. So,
when we came back, we approved for them the need for them to relocate out of those markets. And I can tell you that they bought into the idea.
But I'm sure they are still there.
Thank you very much. Let me, by the time I tell you, I can vividly tell you that they have gotten locations. We have also gone and inspected those locations. We have also given them the checklist or the standards of what facility should look like
in all these four markets.
In all these four markets.
Earlier.
The Onitsha is moving to a place called Agba, Ogba, in Anambra State.
Okay, Ogba.
Idumota is moving to Ijora.
Okay.
Ariara in Kanu, in Abia, is moving to Eimba. Okay. And we are moving Kanu to Kanu Commercial City. Okay. We have interfaced with all the governors of these states. We have also interfaced with all the chairmen, traditional rulers of these states, and they are strongly behind us. So we are moving with these people out of the market.
All right. When we get back from this break, of course, I'll let Aisha talk more about some of those areas they have been working as well, because it's enough that the big names, your pharmacists are working, but what other advocacy will they need and how they have been stepping in to actually look into this. What we want is that at least how this will stem aspect of fake drugs and also people just going to do over-the-counter kind of buying. I'm sure those are some of the areas we want to consider. Well, earlier on we talked to residents of the city what they think about the ban on the open sale of drugs, and I'm sure you want to find out what they thought too. That should help our discussion. You're watching Nigeria Today. Our focus is on the ban of open sale of drugs. Let's hear from the Nigerians on the street.
For me, personally, I don't patronize them. If I have anything to do that is medically associated, I will go to the hospital, do a test, and then they will do recommendations for me. And then when they recommend drugs for you, in most cases they tell you pharmacy where to go and buy it.
Years ago, when I have opportunity to go to Kano State, you see where they use mudu to mention Panadols and paracetamol, which is very, very harmful. You understand? And also is the process that leads to all these boys taking hard drugs. They usually got from all these black market drug dealers. It's very, very bad.
It's a very good development if the government can implement it by enforcing it, by dealing with all those people who are involved. Because those drug people you are seeing, there are some people behind them.
I'm in support of that idea, so that one will reduce drug abuse.
Most of them, they are not even, in fact, they are not physicians. They are just ordinary hawkers. So if they disband them, it will be a good one to this country.
Well, I just recall an incident you just get to hear. I run to the chemist and just buy me this one, mix that one. those are your healers and other hawkers. Well, actually, let's get to you. Okay. I know this chaotic drug distribution certainly is not satisfactory for a system like us, for healthcare system, for a nation like Nigeria. How do you come in now, and what kind of advocacy have you been championing?
Really, the advocacy we've been trying to do is based on treatment and sensitization. As I said, these are our focus on drug abuse. That's drug users, not really the street people who are selling it. This is the first time it caught my eye. We know they exist, and we try to educate schools and so on and so on. Don't do that, don't do that. But I think it's high time we start advocating seriously on that, because our focus.
We're going to be looking into treatments. Definitely, you must seek out where they are getting these drugs.
Yes, yes, no, you know, definitely we are talking about things like marijuana, codeine, is all over and so on and so forth. But things like these excess drugs they sell on their head, even antibiotics. I know that people buy antibiotics from these street people.
Red, yellow, black, purple.
Exactly. So these are things that are not, they are drug abuse also, but they are not like marijuana, cocaine, and something like that. But still, inside that they still sell marijuana. Yes, they still sell it, and we still have the rich ones. When they don't give them money to go and buy the normal things, when they come to they still go and hide somewhere on the street and buy it. If you go to, like, for example, I'll mention Zone 4 in Abuja here, you will see them oftenly selling, and you don't know who is who, and they can come and sneak it, buy it, and then go and take it. So they will sneak cocaine inside.
So your own network is looking out for such intervention?
Yes, we really do a lot of we send outreach workers for intervention, and then sometimes they even behave like they are buying, just to get a source. Where does this person get this? And so, but as I said, it's not our work alone. The government needs to intervene. NGOs can do what they can do. NGOs can do their best, but then we keep talking, to the Ministry of Health. We make advocacy to Senate. To some extent, they have a Senate roundtable in Kano, but these street sellers, it was not addressed at that time. So I'm glad that is being addressed, and then we can look more into it.
Okay, let's get back to the pharmacist here with us. Quality and efficacy of some of these drugs, whether it be with the hawkers going around the streets, those on the pedestrian bridges, or wherever we get to find them. And even from the respondents, you said he actually saw them measured in mudus. Of course, mudu is the container, at least for those who don't understand the parlance, there is a measuring bowl or both sides for produce in the market, especially for grains and all of this one. So if such ones are openly displayed, how efficacious is that for the consumption of human beings? Pharmacist?
Yeah, there's no doubt that the efficacy of those drugs cannot be ascertained. And it can also be, let me also add the fact that most of them could have also undergone, if at all they are even genuine drugs, could have undergone some level of degradation, which of course will also make them harmful for the system and could cause some kind of organ failure, like kidney, liver failure. So certainly they are not drugs that should be patronized, they are not drugs that should be used. But let us also separate two things here. Whereas we spoke about open drug market, which of course is a source of where many of these people get their drugs.
Exactly.
And that is why we are now trying to relocate these people to a coordinated wholesale center where we are going to have office, NAFDAC is going to have office, and of course the facilities will be registered by pharmacists. This issue of hawking is entirely out of this scope. But of course you must also realize the fact that they get their drugs, like I say, from a particular source. The aspect of hawking has been appropriately addressed by Cap C-34 laws of the Federation of Nigeria through the establishment of a federal task force and state task forces. I have been a member of that task force for maybe for the past 10 years. I do know that the state task forces, of course, they were inaugurated by us. Many of them have not functioned effectively. But I do know that by the time we close this tab of the open drug market and streamline drug distribution, certainly even these people will get starved of their sources. And of course, I can also assure you that as a result of the recent outburst in terms of abuse that has been seen everywhere, a lot of measures has also been put in place to strengthen the task force, to reinvigorate the task force and ensure that they wake up. Because the task force is working very well. Even if they open, nobody can hawk drug.
So this ban now, we say it takes effect from December?
Yes, that's the deadline we have, okay. 31st December.
So and from then, what happens?
Yes. What happens is, I must tell you that relocation of those particular facilities, if you've been there, is very capital intensive. We are going to do it, even if it's going to be in phases. We have also spoken to government in order to fast track it.
Okay,
if there's a way,
if it's expedited.
Yeah.
Okay, we must go now. Aisha, what's your last word?
Well, on the street hawkers, I think the Ministry of Health or the government has taken the appropriate, because there is no doubt it's not good to sell drugs that are not, legal, and then you can't go on this. Even for the Nigerians, I don't see why you will be buying drugs from people who are not licensed. You don't even know what you are buying, you don't even know what you are taking, and drug abuse can start from there. Because you can buy anything and you can introduce it to your system.
You see this drug abuse and fake drugs in the system?
Yeah, they will open the codeine and even mix extra things so that you keep coming back to them, It's not the normal codeine,
That's true.
Wow. You know that one. They will open it and mix something else. So when they take
I'm sure with this coordinated effort from the pharmacist and
so I hope that Nigerians will also wake up. It's not only the government and the NGOs, but the individuals.
Okay, Engineer Aisha Lutafida, Deputy National Coordinator, Community Intervention Network on Drugs. Thank you for coming on the program this evening.
You're welcome.
I also like to appreciate Pharmacist Ibrahim Babashe Mohammed, Director, Planning, Research and Statistics, Pharmacist Council of Nigeria. Thank you for your insights.
Thank you very much.
We appreciate your time, and we hope there will be speech to all those areas that you are already looking at, and let's see it take off in good stead. And thanks to you too for being a part of Nigeria Today. That's this day, and I hope you will remember to watch this edition or any other edition online at youtube.com/NTA News 24 Hub. My name is Blessing Abu. Enjoy the rest of the day.